Audit under GST. Today's webinar is being organized by DGTS Delhi Zonal Unit and Kolkata Zonal Unit. I am Ravindra Joshi, Additional Director DGTS DZU, and I will be the moderator for today's session. At the onset of the webinar, I would like to invite Shri Amish Kumar Gupta sir for welcome address. Sir is an Indian Revenue Service Officer of 2002 batch, and sir is currently serving the department as Additional Director General, DGTS, DZU, and KZU. Sir has a very dynamic personality and had a vast experience of serving in various formations of the department in Delhi, NCR, and Gujarat zone. Sir has also worked in board office and has worked in almost all the areas of the department, including customs, excise, goods and service tax. Sir.
Thank you, Ravindra. First of all, a warm good afternoon and warm welcome to all of the delegates of this webinar. Special welcome to Shri Mahendra Ranga, Chief Commissioner of CGST Jaipur Zone. I've been working in I've earlier had a close interaction with Mr. Ranga, and our association goes long back. So as you all know, that he's one of the very decorated officers of the department, very knowledgeable, and he has himself been a master trainer in the department. So this time I requested Sri Ranga to deliver the welcome address today. But apart from that, I should tell you that Mr. Ranga has a varied interest in the cultural ethos of the country. He's a travel writer. He's a multifaceted personality. He's written books. So I think he's the right person to address the webinar today. Coming to this, our initiative of GST, for last 1 year, we've been focusing on taking up basic topics in GST so that we are able to inform our SSCs about the provisions, about the different procedures and how to handle all those things. I'm right now handling charge of the Delhi Zonal Unit as well as Kolkata Zonal Unit. This time, our resource person is from Kolkata Zonal Unit. The keynote address is being given by the Chief Commissioner Jaipur Zone, and the clientele and the people who are listening to us is truly national. So in a way, our this webinar has gone national today. Coming to our resource person, Shri Tarun Kumar Gupta, he has been delivering lectures for us for last some few webinars, and we have been noticing that his webinars are very detailed and well received by the participants. So continuing with that, we have again taken up the webinar with him again today. The topics we've been lastly for last 1 or 2 webinars we've been handling is regarding the how to first of all we started with how to handle the closing of accounts in GST from the side of the SSCs. Then we came to the how to reply to the audit queries and all those things. Now this time we have gone to a more wider thing, that how to handle scrutiny and audit in the GST. So we are, as you all know, that we are actually the devil's advocate in the department. We are in the department. We look at all the things from the viewpoint of the SSC. So once, let's say, there's an audit or scrutiny is happening with the SSCs, then it is very necessary that they are aware that how to handle this, what preparation they should do, and what replies and all required to be given, and what are different types of queries and issues that come up. I've gone through the presentation prepared by Mr. Tarun Gupta this time, quite detailed presentation, which includes different what are the different data and what are the reconciliation that needs to be done. What are the different type of mismatches which are seen, on basis of which department gives notices or replies or queries to the our trade. He's also giving some input about the automated assessment which has started in the GST regime right now. which basically the DGRM selects the assessees and the assessment is done by the department, but most of the part of it is automated. So with these words, I'll open this webinar and I'll hand it over again to Ravinder. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your words. They are always encouraging for even us to conduct these webinars and make it more enriching and enlightening for all the stakeholders. Thank you again, sir. Now I am very happy to share that today we Shri Mahinder Ranga sir. Sir is an IRS officer of 1990 batch and is currently serving as Chief Commissioner of CGST and Central Excise Jaipur Zone. Sir has a very versatile and dynamic personality. Sir has started his career with the Indian Revenue Service in Barmer, Jaisalmer, Rajasthan, on the anti-smuggling front on the Indo-Pak border, and thereafter served in various positions at various places in the country. Sir has been associated with several important initiatives of the department like computer-assisted audit, new audit system undertaken in collaboration with the Canadian authorities, and many others. As a master trainer of the GST, Sir has conducted many workshops, talks relating to GST during the GST rollout. Sir is also regular visiting faculty at National Academy of Customs, Excise and Narcotics and various other institutes and academies. Sir has also penned a book titled Morning Music, Sutras for Success and Happiness in August 2022. Sir has received multiple commendations, including commendation from the High Commission of Canada, commendation from the Estimate Committees of Parliament of India for his contribution, meritorious and distinguished services. Now I request Sir to kindly enlighten us with few words of wisdom. Sir.
We can't hear you, sir.
We're doing that, sir. Sorry for the inconvenience. Due to some technical reasons, I think Sir is not able to connect with us. Kindly bear with us for 1 or 2 minutes. Sir will be connecting with us very soon.
Meanwhile, you can introduce the panelist, Ravinder.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Meanwhile, Sir connects. I'll go ahead with the introduction of other panelists. Now, I would like to introduce Shri Arun Kumar Agarwal, who is a chartered accountant and holders a master degree in law. He possesses more than 2.5 decades of experience in various areas of indirect taxation. He is a leading consultant to real estate and construction industry, accounting and other applicable laws in Eastern India. Mr. Agarwal is chairman of GST and Indirect Taxes Council of Merchant Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Kolkata. He is a regular corporate trainer and a visiting faculty on indirect taxes, accounting, auditing for revenue officials, as well as for various universities and institutes. He has authored commentary on West Bengal VAT and practical guide to West Bengal VAT audit. First books on West Bengal VAT. Welcome again, Shri Arun Kumar Agarwal.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you for introducing. I'm sorry, sir. Do you want me to speak?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Sorry, I could not. Thank you, Mr. Joshi and team DGTS for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on the topic. It's a very pertinent topic, how to respond to scrutiny and audits, scrutiny notices and audits, etc. How to prepare and how to respond to that. And it's a very welcome initiative by DGTS, by Government of India, to outreach the taxpayers, professionals, and all alike on the topic. I'm sure it is going to help in building mutual trust amongst the department and the taxpayers. The topic, of course, since will be deliberated upon in detail by my dear friend Tarun, so I'll not go into the topic directly at length, but just maybe sir few words of observations that when we are talking about scrutiny or audit, or for that matter even investigation also, as we all know that the law very specifically provides for three different fronts of verification: one through scrutiny, one through audit, and one through investigation. Similar was the case even in earlier laws as well. But sometimes we find that the procedure being followed by the department while taking up any of these exercises is not strictly followed, and that brings to various confusions or matters that gives occasions to taxpayers to approach the High Court at times. Also, we have seen some cases have gone even up to High Court saying that the procedure is not properly followed. So probably that needs a little more awareness on both sides, from taxpayer side as well as from the department side, as to when the law has been very specific about scrutiny, about audit, and about investigation. There are certain terms and conditions to each of these procedures to be taken up. So it's not free that any scrutiny leads to audit or it leads to investigation. Not that. Scrutiny has a limited purpose, it has a limited scope. Audit has a different procedure, it has got some other purpose, some other scope. Purpose, of course, ultimately, whether it is scrutiny or audit or verification or investigation, by way of investigation, the purpose is ultimately to detect if there is any short payment or non-payment, for sure. But all these three are having different parameters, different background on which it can be taken up, different limitations on the part of the officer, proper officer, as well as on the part of the taxpayer, and obligations also on the part of the taxpayer as well as on the part of the officer. So those things probably need to be more specifically and properly followed, because at times the appropriate form is not used, at times the time limit is not adhered to, and these things create more technical problems rather than addressing the actual issue of detection or verification of short payment or non-payment. And quite sometimes it is brought to our it comes to our notice that even the procedure is not followed, maybe even if at times when it is addressed to or escalated to the higher authorities, then it is rightly taken up in right spirit and accordingly it is modified. But otherwise, maybe at the field formation level, sometimes these issues are there. So those things probably need to be more taken care of. And from taxpayer side, of course, they should be aware of their rights as well as obligations and see that proper procedure is followed, proper forms are issued, because everything is now since online based on the portal. So the appropriate forms also need to be followed. Otherwise, sometimes some proceedings are taken up, but maybe it is not uploaded in the portal, and that might later on give rise to some other confusion, some other issues, and then to go more into the details of what have been the outcome and the proceedings and what has been done and what not. So those things could be avoided if appropriate procedure is followed, appropriate forms, etc. are followed. Apart from this, yes, on the various legal procedures or legal provisions associated with it and the entire detailed procedure, I am sure my friend Tarun will cover in detail. So I'll not go into details of it. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us an opportunity as a trade partner. I, on behalf of Merchant Chamber of Commerce, Kolkata, thank the team DGTS for giving us this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Ravindra, unmute yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Arun. Thank you for your views, and we look forward for more participation in future from your side. Thank you so much. Now, I am happy to share again that today we have with us Shri Mahindra Ranga sir. Sir is an IRS officer of 1990 batch and is currently serving as Chief Commissioner of CGST and Central Excise, Jaipur Zone. Sir has a very versatile and dynamic personality. Sir has started his career with IRS in Barmer, Jaisalmer, Rajasthan on anti-smuggling front on the Indo-Pak border and thereafter serving in various positions at various places in the country. Sir has been associated with several important initiatives of the department like a computer-assisted audit, new audit system, undertaken in collaboration with Canadian authorities and many others. As a master trainer of GST, Sir has conducted many workshops, talks relating to GST during GST rollout. A regular visiting faculty at National Academy of Customs, Excise and Narcotics and various other institutions and academies. Sir has also penned a book titled Morning Musings, Sutras for Success and Happiness in August 2022. Sir has also received multiple commendation, including commendation for from the High Commission of Canada, commendation from the Estimate Committee of Parliament of India for his meritorious and distinct service. And now I request Sir to please enlighten us with few words of wisdom. Sir.
Thank you very much. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am grateful to DGTS for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you. Audit indeed is a very important subject for the department. And a lot of people, they have to undergo audit at regular intervals. So far as the department is concerned, audit is an important tool of compliance verification, for which the department is basically meant. Although we call them ourselves as tax collectors, but we are actually tax verifiers. We verify whether the taxes have been paid correctly by the taxpayer or not. And audit is an important tool in that direction. And in future, audit will become even more important and perhaps the main tool for verification of compliances. Having said that, I feel that a lot of people get scared when they hear that they are going to be audited. As an officer of the department, I have received many calls from friends when they received the first notice that they are going to be audited, and they were scared. So I think that to handle audit, we have to prepare ourselves in two ways. Number one, mentally. Number two, operationally. So I think handling ourselves mentally and mental preparation is as important as the operational preparedness. And the mental preparedness is more important for small and medium people, particularly those who are self-entrepreneurs and running their businesses. So to them, I would like to say that there is no need to get scared or get paranoid once you receive a notice for audit. The auditors have their own limitations. They have to work within the confines of law, and at best they can raise a demand if you have committed any wrong. Nothing beyond that. You or they are otherwise also, they are supervised from the highest levels and not supposed to harass the SSC in any other way. So please don't fear them. If they are not friends, they are not enemies either. They are professional tax administrators. They are supposed to be there for doing a job and help them in doing their job in a cooperative manner. Please note that you have not been targeted by the auditors who are going to come to you to audit. The selection of audit is automated on the basis of a computerized list. There are list parameters, and some people who qualify on those parameters, only they are selected. So the tax auditors don't have any hand in that. So please don't think that they are targeting you in any way. Please be open to this idea of getting audited, as they say that कि उतना ही डरो जितना डरने की जरूरत है. So please don't get afraid. So first of all, mentally please be at ease. There is no need to be scared or paranoid. They are coming there for verification, and if there is no cooperation to them, then probably anti-evasion teams might have to come to get the record. So you have to help them, you have to be cooperative with them. And once you have been audited, then for the same issues, you will not be visited by other officers or by the anti-evasion teams. And in case the business has started recently, audit helps in verification, or it can give a confirmation that the processes that you are adopting are correct and that you are paying the taxes correctly. Otherwise, a wrong practice continued over a period of time can lead to accumulation of large demands, and the audit can help the taxpayer in avoiding those demands. So an audit can actually help the taxpayer in that process. So I would like to say that mentally, please be at ease, don't get scared, and be ready to welcome the taxpayer, the auditors. The auditors will be interacting in their total interaction can be divided into 3 stages: pre-audit, during audit, and post-audit. Pre-audit, they will be asking for documents. There is a prescribed list. They will ask for returns. They may ask for invoices. They may ask for some third-party data. They may ask for details of orders placed. They may ask for returns. So there is a prescribed list. So share the data with them, help them in organizing themselves. Once they receive the data, then they will identify areas where possibly there may be issues in tax compliances. So help them in giving with the data. And lack of cooperation in this can put the taxpayer into some difficulties, and department may have to resort to some other methods which are not really to the liking of the taxpayers or to the tax administration. The second comes during the process of audit itself. Provide them some space where they can operate. You can extend some basic courtesies like tea to them. That is your own volition. You can't be forced to incur any expenditure on them. They are given allowances by the government and which are sufficient for them to take care. But during audit, they may ask some questions, they may ask for explanations, they may ask for further information. Please help them with that information. Post-audit, if they have found that there are some non-compliances in their view, there will be discussions with the audit team. Please participate in these discussions, and some of the issues, they can be settled in those discussions itself. You can consult your experts in providing them with the answers. Normally, any taxpayer of good size has the assistance of chartered accountants or other experts. And I will suggest that you involve them during the process of audits so that you can respond to their queries, what you are doing and why you are doing. Most of the issues I have seen that 90% of them get resolved during that process. But still, if there are any issues and if you think there have been genuine non-compliances, there is no need to drag the issues for further litigation. I will suggest that it is best to pay the duties, but if still you feel that the demands being made or the opinion of the auditors is not correct, you can contest the issue. There are legal channels, there are various fora where they can be handled. And in case you feel that you are being harassed or there are some undue demands which should not be there, please don't get unnecessarily perturbed. There are departmental officers, senior officers are there. Please feel free to approach them. But to summarize myself, the audit is a duty being performed by tax administrators. We want to do it in a professional manner, and your cooperation is key to it. Please cooperate with the tax auditors, and we should get, if there are issues, we should try to amicably resolve all the issues. That is my message to all. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable inputs and experience. And sir, we look forward to have you on board in future webinars to be. Thank you, sir. Now, for the presentation, I would like to introduce Shri Tarun Kumar Gupta, who is a chartered accountant, a company secretary, and MBA with major in business management. He has about 23 years of professional experience in the field of finance, financial management, and taxation. He is a master trainer on GST with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, guest faculty at National Academy of Customs, Indirect Taxes and Narcotics, Calcutta. Welcome, Gupta. You can kindly begin with your presentation. Thank you.
Namaste, sir. I hope I'm
Namaskar.
audible.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, first of all, my sincere thanks to DGTS, Delhi Zonal Unit and Kolkata Zonal Unit for giving me yet another opportunity to share my views on this very important topic, how to handle scrutiny and departmental audit under GST. I also thank Shri Mahinder Ranga sir, Chief Commissioner CGST Jaipur Zone, Shri Amish Kumar Gupta sir, ADG DGTS, and sir yourself, Ravindra Joshi sir. I also thank my senior and the trade partner Shri Arun Agarwal ji from Merchant Chamber of Commerce for being with us. Thank you so much. So what I will do is I will share a presentation. Just a second, sir. So is my PPT visible in slideshow mode?
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you so much. So let me start with the importance of the entire subject, because like Ranga sir said, that this is a very important aspect of the entire GST procedures that we see, because scrutiny and departmental audit, one can say, is the first step which the department takes to ensure that the taxpayer is basically compliant with the procedures of GST. In fact, the department has also had good amount of success in tax collection once they have started this entire process. In fact, I would like to quote Shri Vivek Johari sir, who was the CBIC chief. In the 2023 post-budget interaction, sir had said that the board had detected a revenue shortfall of almost around 22,000 crores from the tax audits done of almost like 51,000 GST returns, and a revenue shortfall of 2,200 crores from scrutiny of around 31,000 GST returns. Now, these figures are only for CGST. I am sure if we add the scrutinies and the departmental audits done by the various state GST officers and the departments, this amount will increase quite substantially. So, this is a process in which the department is assessing whether the tax paid, whether the input tax credit availed by the taxpayer, and whether the refund that has been taken by the taxpayer, whether it has been as per the procedure or not. Now, like our trade partner, sir, Mr. Arun Agarwal, sir, said that there are certain procedures. Now, it is very important to understand that procedures is very important under GST, because the GST Act, unlike any other act, it has in detail, it has mentioned what is the provision, what is the rule, what is the form number, and then the entire thing is on the GST portal. So basically, if we start with audit or if we start with scrutiny, the entire thing step by step one can see is on the portal. Like we will, once we get into the detail of the presentation, we will see that when scrutiny is done, it starts with ASMT 10, which is uploaded on the portal. When departmental audit is done, it starts with ADT 1, which is uploaded on the portal. So the portal is a great enabler, I would say, and it records the entire process at every step. So now let us get into the presentation. This is a disclaimer which the participants may note that these are the views of the presenter, and if there is any reference to the CGST Act, it also refers to the SGST Act, and for all legal purposes, please refer to the respective acts. Now, once we start the discussion, we will see that what is an assessment, because both scrutiny and departmental audit comes under the word assessment or the chapter assessment as per the GST Act. So what does actually assessment mean? We will see this. Then we will go deeper into the scrutiny of returns, the departmental audit of assessees, the questions that we as professionals we see are being faced by the taxpayers and how to handle them, and maybe at the end we will do the question and answer. So let us understand what is the definition of the word assessment. So now the Honorable Supreme Court has in various other tax laws as old as in 1958 had passed a judgment in which the word assessment was defined, and it said that the word assessment is comprehensive and can comprehend the whole procedure by ascertaining the and imposing liability on the taxpayer. The word assessment cannot be given a restricted meaning. So many a times we have seen that the taxpayers get into a conflict with the audit team or the scrutiny team by saying them, you know, that this is, you can't assess that, you can't look into all these procedures, your brief is this much, you know, and they get into technicalities. So my suggestion to the taxpayers would be that based on this judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, we cannot give any restricted meaning to the word assessment, and the departmental officers have the power to look at all the aspects under GST and to ensure that the assessment is correctly done. Further, we see that the term assessment is flexible, capable of many meanings, and it will take its color from the context in which it occurs. It will signify computation of taxable value, liability to pay tax, interest, or penalty. So, various high courts in various cases, they have said that the term assessment is quite a, you can say, a universe of the entire procedures, and the audit team or the scrutiny team, they can go into various facets of assessment and determine what is the outward tax liability, what is the input tax eligibility, whether refund was eligible or not, whether late fees was applicable, interest payable, penalties payable. So all these things can be checked by the scrutiny and the assessment audit team. We further see that the word assessment can have a very comprehensive meaning. It can comprehend the whole procedure. So I'm just trying to make the taxpayers aware that in various judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court, assessment has been defined to have a very comprehensive meaning. It cannot be given a restricted meaning. That is what is the object of showing these case laws. In fact, the word, it has also been held that the word assess itself has been held as a comprehensive word, and in a taxing statute, it often means the computation. See, it is very important. The Honorable Supreme Court in the matter of Bhopal Sugar Industries has said that in a taxing statute, it often means the computation of the income of the assessee, the determination of tax payable by him, and the procedure for collecting or recovering the tax. So, taxpayers may note that these judgments are also applicable in the case of GST, because we are dealing with a taxing statute, and if something has been held in an earlier in another law earlier, it's also applicable generally in GST. So what does assessment mean when we come to the GST specifically? Like I have been saying, it means the determination of tax liability, that the tax liability needs to be determined under an act, which is basically whether the payment is done to be done under CGST Act, SGST Act, IGST Act. So which act requires that payment? It is for a period. So we have been seeing that scrutinies and audits have been coming for the entire financial year, maybe 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, and like that. That the notice for determination of tax needs to be issued. So the notice has to be issued, which is the show cause notice after the completion of the scrutiny or the audit. And assessment includes original assessment, revised assessment, provisional assessment, and all types of assessments. So this is the overall context of the word assessment that we have as per the GST Act. Now when we come to the scrutiny or the audit, so let us see what is happening. So generally when a scrutiny starts, so we receive an ASMT 10 from the department. Now ASMT 10 has been generated by the, is based on the returns that the taxpayer has filed. Maybe it is GSTR 3B, GSTR 1, GSTR 9, 9C, the e-way bill data, the e-invoice data. So the scrutiny module looks at all of them, and it is an automated system. There is no human intervention in this. So the scrutiny module will collect the data of each of the parameters and reflect it on a chart type of a thing. So it will, so if I take an example, so if I am saying, say, outward supply, so the scrutiny module will show that what is the tax and the taxable value that has been shown by the taxpayer in his GSTR 1, GSTR 3B, 9, 9C, maybe e-invoice data, e-way bill data. So all these will be reflected on that thing, and the module will take highest of all of them and say that if this is the taxable value as per the highest of all the above, and what has been paid, so in 3B, so that is deducted, and the demand, if any, is shown in red, the colors of the scrutiny module will be in red. So it will show that out of all these 3 acts and cess, out of all these 4, this is the shortfall. And similarly, we will have it for the input tax credit and other things. Now, the issue that as a taxpayer we face is that we have to deal with lots of data. And this slide basically shows that we have data of 3B, 1, as I said, 2A, 2B, 9, 9C, E invoice. Now, apart from this, we also have some other data, which is there is a mod in one of the modules of the GST portal, we have a tax comparison table, so that the data is also available in these tables. Then we as the assessee, we also have our books of accounts. Now, there are also third-party data like the data of my supplier or my customer. Now, if I am also dealing with a government department, so say for example, I am paying royalty on say on reverse charge basis. So the data from the respective state mining department is also there, and various other things. So what we see is that both the department as well as the taxpayer are dealing with lots of data. Now the challenge here is to ensure that we are able to reconcile this data, which is a very Herculean task in some cases, and especially when under section 73 audits are coming maybe up to 3 years, and under section 74 it can come up to say 5 years. So laying hands on records which are 3 years, 5 years old, and along with that you have to have the supportings. Sometimes it becomes very difficult from a taxpayer's point of view. But if we look at the department point of view, then unless you as a taxpayer you reconcile the difference between say 3B and 1 and 9 and 9C and all these things, so unless you explain the difference to the departmental officer and explain that why there is a difference and what is the reconciliation, so you will have to deal with this problem. Because if I come to the next slide, so these are the reconciliations that we see, and this is common for both scrutiny as well as departmental audit, because departmental audit also starts with all these scrutiny parameters. Taxpayers who have faced departmental audit will agree with me that the departmental audit also starts with all those parameters which are there in scrutiny, and plus they take some other information from the taxpayer and they come to those points. So both in scrutiny as well as departmental audit, the duty of the taxpayer is to ensure that all the reconciliations between say outward supply, between input tax credit, between total turnover, all these things are duly done and provided to the officer. Because if we look at the officer's point of view, then say let us take the example of input tax credit. Now, if input tax credit has to be reconciled between 2A, 2B and the books of accounts which have been availed in 3B, so invoice to invoice match. Now, taxpayer says that I have reversed a credit note, then that has to get reflected in the books of accounts, isn't it? And this has to be shown to the officer that, sir, if I produce the ITC register for a particular year, you can see that this credit note has already been reversed in my ITC register. I may have taken net ITC in my 3B, and hence the reversal is not getting reflected in 3B. But when I have taken net ITC, this effect of this credit note has already been taken. So this has to be shown to the officer, and once the officer obviously sees that yes, you have already reversed a particular credit note, he will give you relief. So like Ranga sir said in the beginning, that you need not be fearful of the scrutiny team, of the audit team. उतना ही डरिए जितना आपको दरकार है, what is required. But what is important is that you have to complete your duty as a taxpayer, because scrutiny and audit is as much as a duty of the taxpayer as it is of the departmental officer. It is your duty also to ensure that the entire process gets completed within time. Because if as a taxpayer you don't cooperate with the departmental officer, obviously the departmental officer will have to take the next step, which is like provided in the Act, that if he starts with scrutiny, he can go up, he can suggest an audit, he can suggest a investigation. So if he does audit, starts with audit, he can go to investigation, and then this notice under 73 or 74 can be issued. So the departmental officer will keep moving ahead, and it is the duty of the taxpayer to ensure that data and reconciliation is given to him at all times. So if we look at the slide, we see that for outward supply, there has to be a reconciliation between 3B and 1 and e-way bill and e-invoice, etc. For input tax credit, 3B and 2A, 2B, 2A, 2B with the purchase ledger, 2A, 2B with table 8A of GST 9. Now, on this points, let me specifically say that one thing that the taxpayer should ensure is that your GST return should come out from your accounting system. Now, let me explain this point. You see, many a times especially for small and medium practitioners, firms, what we do is that we prepare our records on Tally. Now, Tally has a very good feature of preparing the 3B, 1, 9, 9C and all these returns on the system. Now, if you at least ensure that the 3B and 1 is prepared from Tally and that data is extrapolated to the GST portal and it matches, majority of your issues which may come up later, maybe up to 3 years or up to 5 years, will be taken care of, because you will have at least the entire breakup invoice wise in your system. If today your GST return does not match with your books of accounts, it becomes very difficult to do transaction by transaction reconciliation, because you yourself don't know that how the figures in the returns have come if it doesn't match with your books of accounts. So you should stop doing any backdated entries, because if you do any backdated entry, the return will not again match with the books of accounts. And if you are doing any such transaction after filing of the return, then you keep a record of such transactions so that you can find out the mismatch when the question is asked. So this is my suggestion to the taxpayers who are listening to this webinar, that please ensure that your GSTR 1 and 3B comes out of your accounting system. Majority of the small SMEs, they maintain books on Tally. So Tally has this feature, but if you don't maintain books on Tally, then all other softwares also have such features like SAP and Oracle. They also have their features in which GST reconciliation or GST return preparation modules are available. So take it as a very important point that your returns should match with your books of accounts. If you ensure that is done, then majority of your reconciliation issues will be taken care of. Now let us come to some important points of GST scrutiny returns that are there, because if I see this slide, so then we have 13 such cases. I will take the important ones so that we have some time for question answer also at the end. So the scrutiny, what does scrutiny basically check? The first one is any mismatch between your outward taxable supply, between your 3B and 1. Now, we always have this question in mind many a times. You see, let us take an example. In my GSTR 1, I have shown 100 rupees as tax. In my 3B, I have shown say 80 rupees as tax I have paid. So there is a mismatch of 20 rupees. But what I have also done is when I had filed my GSTR 9, I had reconciled the GSTR 1 with my books of accounts, and I had declared only say 80 rupees in my GSTR 9. So what do we have? GSTR 3B is 80 rupees, GSTR 1 is 100 rupees, GSTR 9 is 80 rupees. Now the department and the scrutiny module, what will it say? It will take higher of the three. So it will say that your outward supply liability is 100 rupees. You have paid 80 rupees. So you pay 20 rupees. The taxpayers say that yes, my GST1 was 100 rupees, but after that I have done some amendment. I have say issued credit note, and hence my books of accounts show only 80 rupees, which is reflected in my GST9 and 9C as 80 rupees. But still the department goes on and raises the demand. Now the point which the department takes is that when you have deflected invoices in your GSTR1, the recipient has taken input tax credit. And so unless you are able to show me that your recipient has reversed the input tax credit, or based on your credit note, you have raised the credit notes, or you have done the amendments invoice wise, you will not get the relief, because there is always a question of excess ITC that can be availed by the recipient. So hence, we should not get perturbed by such statements of the department, wherein as a taxpayer you feel that what you are saying is correct, and the department is unnecessarily unnecessarily trying to be hard. But what we should also ensure is that the department also has to fulfill its duties to ensure that no undue benefit is taken as input tax credit. So my suggestion to the taxpayer is that in such cases, please show the copies of credit notes, please show the amendments that you have done invoice wise, and show it to the concerned officer. And I am sure once you are able to explain the difference between GST 1 and 9 and how it has been reversed, I am sure you will get the relief. The second point is mismatch between the tax liability shown in 2A for reverse charge and that what has been paid in 3B. So what happens is that if you are taking any service or any goods from a person who is registered, but the transaction is on reverse charge, he will show that the transaction is on reverse charge, and it will appear in your 2A and 2B. Now you as the assessee, it is your duty to check this on a monthly basis and pay the required tax under reverse charge basis. So this scrutiny module, basically this point checks this point is checked by the scrutiny module, in which this auto-populated data of reverse charge is checked with what has been paid in 3B. And if there is any difference, obviously that has to be paid or explained to the proper officer. Similarly, mismatch in ITC availed in respect of inward supplies from ISD. ISD is Input Service Distributor. So if there is any mismatch of what has been availed in 3B versus what has been auto-populated in 2A, then obviously there is a difference and it has to be explained, or the demand has to be paid. Now, point number 4 is the most important in terms of input tax credit, because all other ITC that we avail in 4A5 of 3B has to be matched with my 2B on a month-to-month basis. So any mismatch has to be on a month-to-month basis, has to be explained in 2B. But when I am doing this entire exercise for the financial year, then I have to take 2A, because the numbers that are getting populated in GST and 9 is from 2A and not from 2B. So taxpayers may note that when you avail your input tax credit in 3B on a month-to-month basis or a quarter-to-quarter basis, then you have to check this entire thing with 2B. But if you are liable to submit your 9 and 9C, then you have to check it with 2A. That is, so this difference is very important. And taxpayers will also note that this entire exercise has to be done on an invoice-to-invoice basis. The scrutiny or the departmental audit will start from the difference, from the overall difference, but it will go on to the invoice-to-invoice basis, and this matching or reconciliation has to be done on a invoice level. Mismatch in taxable value as per the TDS and TCS returns. So we are aware that under section 51, if I am supplying anything to the government, then the government is when they make the payment, they deduct 2% TDS. And similarly, if I'm working with a e-commerce operator, then when I am getting payment, the e-commerce operator is liable to deduct 1% TCS. So if there is any mismatch between the deduction in TDS or TCS with my declaration of outward liability, that is checked by the scrutiny module in point number 5. Point number 6 mentions about the liability on account of outward supplies in 3B with the tax liability as declared in e-way bill. So e-way bill, we are aware that it has to be issued, and if there is any mismatch between what I have declared in my 3B and the e-way bill, then that is highlighted in the scrutiny module in point number 6. Cases of claim of ITC in respect of suppliers from taxpayers whose registrations have been cancelled. So this is a very litigated issue. We will know taxpayers who have been dealing for the last since 2017-18 are aware of this point, that what is happening is that if a registration of a supplier has been cancelled, specifically suo moto cancelled from 1/7/17 itself, so taxpayers are getting demands on this issue from the department saying that when the registration has been cancelled suo moto from 1/7/17 itself, then the supplier never existed. Now you as the taxpayer who has purchased the goods or the material from the respective supplier, so one has to show the goods receipt note, one has to show the tax invoice, e-way bill if it was applicable, the ledger copy, payment has been done. So all these things are shown to the proper officer in this point, but many a times the proper officers, they are not giving relief on this point because it is a litigated issue. So one has to see it on a case-to-case basis how the proper officer he deals with this. But overall, I can say it is a litigated point. Point number 7. Point number 8 is ineligible ITC availed in respect of invoices, debit notes issued by the suppliers who have not filed their 3B returns. Now this again is a litigated point, point number 8, because what is happening is that taxpayers have, say, purchased goods or services from a particular supplier, and now that person has not paid to the government. So what do as I do as the taxpayer? Because taxpayers have been saying that I have paid to my supplier. Now, if he has not paid to the government, then why is the government coming to me? They should go to the supplier and collect their money. Now, as I've already said that this is a litigated issue, and in various cases the department has been raising demand where the tax has not been paid because it is a violation of section 16(2) where tax is not paid, and hence the demand is raised for availment of wrong input tax credit. So we will have to see on a point-to-point basis, on a case-to-case basis, what is the exact case. But two important points for point number 7 and 8. One is that this has to be done on an invoice-to-invoice level. So case-to-case, we have to see what is the actual relevant point. And second is that it is a litigated issue. So there are various cases that are going on in the various high courts, and matter has also gone up to the Supreme Court. So we have to see this on a case-to-case basis. Point number 9 is cases where ITC has been availed in case of returns in 3B filed for a tax period after the last date of availment of ITC, that is September or November, whichever is the date. So now point number 9 is again litigated because it is under section 16(4), and 3 or 4 high courts have given orders against the assessee, whereas the matter is now, 2 matters I think have now gone up to the Honorable Supreme Court level, and we will have to await a judgment from the Honorable Supreme Court on this point. But here also this is a litigated point, and we have to see what the judgment comes. Point number 10 is mismatch in ITC availed in respect of import of goods. So when a person imports goods, he pays GST on the import of good, which gets auto-populated in 2A and then it has to be availed in my 3B. So if there is a mismatch, this difference has to be explained by the assessee, because many a times what happens is the data which comes from ICE gate, so it doesn't transmit on a timely basis in my 2A or 2B, and hence there is a difference. Because if I have say paid for 10 bill of entries in this particular month, and if say only 6 or 7 say bill of entries are transmitted from ICE gate to the GST portal, then for the balance, obviously I cannot leave it out. I have to take it, and hence there is a difference, and this difference has to be explained in case of a scrutiny. Reversal of ITC is very important. Rule 4243, which basically says that ITC is not available if it is not for business purpose. ITC has to be reversed proportionately, and ITC has to be reversed for capital goods used for both taxable as well as exempt services or goods. Now, there is one basic issue that taxpayers are facing on this point specifically. So you see, what does Rule 42 say? So let us take an example that I have a total turnover of say 100 rupees, out of which say 80 rupees is taxable turnover and say 20 rupees is exempt turnover. Now, as per Rule 42, what does it say? It says that for the common credit, so any credit which is used commonly for both taxable turnover as well as exempt turnover, so that common credit I have to reverse up to the percentage of my exempt turnover. So if my exempt turnover is 20%, so the common credit I have to reverse 20%. But what is happening is that scrutiny module, what it does is that it takes the entire ITC that I have availed in my 3B as common credit. The difficulty the department is facing is that out of the 4A5 figure that I am giving in my 3B, I am not differentiating that how much is common credit and how much is my actual credit for taxable supplies. So the scrutiny module, what it does, it takes the entire ITC that I have availed as common credit and it applies the rate of 20% and says that this is the reversal that has to be done, which is becoming little difficult for the taxpayers. But I am not sure what will be the solution for this, because it will require a change in the scrutiny module, the way it is getting calculated. Now, as a taxpayer, what I have to do is I have to show the entire ITC register to the officer, bifurcate the common credit in that, and then apply the exempt turnover percentage, and that is what is actually required to be reversed under Rule 42 of the CGST rules. So there is always a very big difference between what actually the law tells me to pay and what the scrutiny modules tells me to pay, and that difference has to be explained with working and all. So this becomes a little cumbersome exercise, but I think at this point of time there is nothing that can be done. We will have to go through this entire process to ensure that my calculation as per, so what the calculation that the taxpayer does has to be explained to the proper officer, and once it is agreed, then that has to be paid. If it has not been already reversed, so the amount has to be paid. Any interest that is required to be paid, so under section 50, so interest and late fees under 47, so this also is calculated by the scrutiny module, and it is calculated, and if it is required to be paid, I am sure the taxpayers will have to pay this, because there is no such relief from interest or late fees. So these are the 13 important points which come out of the scrutiny module that has been prepared by the department, and now this entire thing is on an automated system. The DGARM office in Delhi, they choose the taxpayers for whom scrutiny has to be done. They prepare the entire report, and that report is available on the dashboard of the proper officer. The proper officer takes that and he issues ASMT 10 for the respective financial year, giving 30 days to the taxpayer to make a detailed reply. There is generally no interaction that is done between the proper officer and the assessee at this point of time, because the duty of the taxpayer is to take each and every point by point, and like we have discussed, show the reconciliation, prepare the invoice-wise details, and in ASMT 11 within 30 days, or if the time is extended, he has to upload the reply on the portal. And if there is any amount that is admitted, that should be paid and if anything is disputed, that should be clearly mentioned. The proper officer will then go through the detailed reply in ASMT 11 and then take his appropriate action. So either he may drop the proceedings if he is satisfied and tax has been paid and well explained, so he may drop the proceedings and issue ASMT 12, or if he is not satisfied and he wants to take the proceedings further, he may either suggest or recommend for detailed audit, or he may, if the taxpayer is not cooperating, he may recommend for inspection, or he may straight away go and issue the pre-show cause notice, which is DRC 01A. The proper officer can also go forward and issue the show cause notice, because the issuing of pre-show cause notice in DRC 01A is no more compulsory. So it can also happen that once ASMT 10 has been issued, the taxpayer gives a reply in ASMT 11 and straight the proper officer issues the DRC 01, which is the show cause notice. After which the assessee has to make a reply in DRC 06, which is the reply to the show cause notice, and an order will come under in DRC 07. So this is the general procedure that we see is done by the proper officers. Automated scrutiny I have covered, because nowadays many of these things are automated. So we see that artificial intelligence and the use of information technology is in great use by the department, and all these things are automated as per the automated GST scrutiny. Now let me come to the departmental audit of the assessees. So departmental audit started from 17-18 for the 9 months onwards, and it was also done for the credits that we had taken, because the transitional credits that were taken were checked and audited by the department. We also see that some taxpayers and some clients are facing audit from SERA, which is the Central Excise Revenue Audit. Now there is an issue many a times we feel which is being done, because you see, as per a last Bombay High Court decision, the SERA has not been given power to undertake audit under the GST Act. We have seen that under service tax and the central excise, SERA used to come to the premises of the taxpayer and undertake the audit. But now, after the, I think, the judgment of the Honorable Bombay High Court, the matter is sub judice and it is before the apex court now. But nowadays, when SERA is doing the audit, the letters are being issued through the respective range or the proper officer. Now, we have, as professionals, we have seen that, say, a scrutiny has been completed for a particular taxpayer for a particular year. And now again, SERA is issuing letters saying that we have done the scrutiny, and now, you explain these further points. We have also seen that audit has been completed by the departmental officer, and after that the SERA audit comes and they say now under scrutiny provision we are issuing these letters. So many a times there is a duplication that is happening. Many a times parallel proceedings, it results in parallel proceedings. It also results in multiple proceedings for a particular year, and the taxpayers sometimes face difficulty in replying to multiple agencies or multiple letters. But we will have to, but what I can tell to the taxpayer from the department side is that all these things have to be taken on a case-to-case basis, and it is better that all these letters are replied to. I will take this at the end maybe, but many a times we feel that there is a legal issue. So let me explain this with an example. That, say, a letter has come from SERA audit, and you want to take a point that SERA is not authorized to, say, undertake audit under GST because of the Honorable Bombay High Court matter, and the matter is sub judice. So you can take a legal point. You can take a legal point by saying that this is what the legal provision says, but don't stop there. Continue with your submission on the facts also. So in your reply, you take the legal point as a taxpayer, because you have the right to take your legal point, but don't stop, continue with the facts also, and explain that after taking the legal point, this is the fact and this is what is the actual position, these are the documents, and you complete that also as the factual point. So now, as I said, the department, when they start the audit, they will issue ADT 1, and then they will conduct the audit, and it will end with the issue of the final audit report. Now, Ranga sir said that in the beginning that the selection of the taxpayers is done by the system. So what are some of the parameters? Let us see. So some of the parameters for the selection of the taxpayer for audit includes that the taxpayer was not previously audited. It depends on the size of the taxpayer, the net profit, the income from some high risk activities that have been identified by the department. Say, for example, real estate income. So if there is a assessee who has huge income or majority of his income from high risk activities, for example, real estate, then the probability of getting an audit is very high. Then the taxpayer is filing his returns inconsistently. So he is delaying in filing of his returns and he is not regular. So that can also call for an audit. If the taxpayer was previously investigated for any evasion, so there is a likelihood that in the future years an audit may come. And if the taxpayer is receiving notices from other government agencies, like maybe income tax or maybe ED or CBI or any other government agency, then there is also a likelihood that the assessee's file for audit may be selected under GST. The taxpayer's returns is prepared by questionable accountants. So this is also one of the selection parameters for audit. Specific sectors, so assessees of all specific sectors, for example, real estate so all assessees of a specific sector can be selected for audit. The taxpayer has multiple branches or multiple activities. So if a company or a taxpayer has multiple branches or is doing multiple activities, so the likelihood of audit is high. There have been audit assessments or differences in audit. So if say last year there has been an audit and huge differences come out, so getting an audit letter for audit for this year is also a high likelihood. The taxpayer has supplied goods on which there has been a reduction in rate of duty in order to examine the possibility of profiteering. So we have seen that when GST had started, so anti-profiteering measures, the applicability of anti-profiteering measures were there, and many taxpayers had received audit letters to ensure that any change or reduction in the rate of duty was duly passed on to the consumers. And the taxpayers whose turnover increased substantially after enactment of GST. So if there is a huge rise in the turnover after the enactment of GST based on the previous trend, so in that case one can expect that maybe an audit can be, the file may be selected for audit. So what I have also tried to capture in this slide is the time for issue of notice or orders under the specific years and under the specific section 73 and 74. So we see that the financial year for the financial year 17, 18, 18, 19 and also 19, 20, the due date to issue show cause notice under section 73 has already passed, and under section 73 the date of order has also passed for 17, 18 and 18, 19. So for these 2 years it has become time barred, but for section 74 it is still open, and the taxpayers can expect any notice under section 74 from 17, 18 onwards. And so the slide captures all these dates. I'm just leaving it open for some time. If you want, you can take a screenshot. So what are the questions that are being faced by the taxpayers? Some of these issues or questions that the taxpayers face are that assessment and audit is being initiated without following the process of law. That is, so you see, we have seen as a consultant, we have seen many a times that assessment is initiated, but ASMT 10 is not issued. or even if ASMT 10 is issued, it is not uploaded on the portal. Similarly, ADT 1 is not issued, or ASMT 12, which is the order, that is not issued. So many a times, like Mr. Arun Agarwal had said in the beginning from the trade, that the process of law which is there in the GST Act and the procedures, that should be followed. That many a times we have seen that field formations at the central level and also at the state level, state officers, both of them, so they are not following the exact process, and the assessees are also facing an issue of both offline and online. So many field formations are doing everything online, sometimes they are doing it offline. The notice is issued in online mode, but the order is not uploaded. So that has to be, so appeal has to be filed in the offline mode. So there is a disconnect many a times in the entire process, and people face this difficulty of online versus offline. Because if one has to follow online, then he has to keep a track of the SMS and the email addresses, emails that come from the GST portal. If one has to track offline, he has to ensure that all letters that are received at the registered office of the assessee are tracked and it reaches the desk of the right person. So many a times there becomes a little disconnect if both the processes are followed. The second point says that many a times the records and documents are being sought under Rule 5618 from the assessee without saying whether it is an audit or an assessment or investigation. So the assessee who is bound to produce all the records and everything to the proper officer, he doesn't know whether he is undertaking an assessment, scrutiny assessment, or an audit or investigation. So that point becomes unclear, because unless the taxpayer knows that what is the procedure, what is the process that is going on, he doesn't know what are the rights that a taxpayer has, because every section has different rights of both the proper officer as well as the assessee. So without saying that what is going on, the taxpayer will not know. So this is an issue or a question that many times are faced by taxpayers. Parallel proceedings is something that I discussed already between assessment and audit is being done, because we have seen, and cases have also gone to the various high courts, and sometimes the matter is also taken up that after assessment, audit is allowed. However, after audit, assessment should not be done. If an audit has been done, then why of a particular year, then why is some other agency doing audit of the same year? Why are different agencies raising the same issue? So sometimes taxpayers face this issue, but my suggestion to the taxpayer is that you have to take each and every case separately, and the merits of each and every case will require you to assess whether the same point is being repeated again and again, or different points are being taken. Because like Ranga sir said in the beginning, that once an assessment or a scrutiny or an audit has been done and particular point has been dealt with, then in future that should not be again dealt with by any other agency. If that is being done, you may point it out to the other agency that, you see, I have already replied and this point is already closed in a previous proceeding, and hence we request you not to take up this point again. So point by point, this thing has to be seen, that whether parallel proceedings are going on, multiple proceedings are going on, and what relief can you seek from the department as well as from the various case laws that have been come till now. Sometimes taxpayers are also facing this issue, and recently one circular has also been issued. I think one instruction has been issued that whatever documents are already available on the portal, they should not be sought by the departmental officers from the taxpayers, because unnecessarily taking out copies of 3B, 19C, 2A, 2B and giving it on hard copies and all, unnecessarily it is creating confusion between the departmental officers and the taxpayer. So the department has also said to the proper officers that such documents may be taken from the portal. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I think these points have been covered. Input tax credit and its reversal. So I have discussed these points when I was discussing. I will just skip. Yeah. So I will just now try to complete my presentation. So how to handle from a taxpayer's point of view such scrutinies and assessments. So you do your independent assessment. So whenever there is a difference that is pointed out by the department from their records, you please do your independent assessment. And if there is any difference in the figures that have been shown by the department in this various documents, you please say that this figure is maybe incorrect and the correct figure is this figure, and you attach the document. Then, as I said, you please address the law point and the facts too. Don't just leave the reply only on the law point and without addressing the facts. So please address both the points. Many a times the taxpayer has to take a decision versus whether he should go for a reply or for a writ petition. So that will again depend on a case-to-case basis. Please take advice from your professional and he will guide you best on whether you should adhere to the procedure as per GST, or if there is any case for any writ petition, then one can go in the Honorable High Court. Payment versus litigation, my sincere advice to the taxpayer is don't litigate each and every point, because there is merit in so many points that are being that come out in scrutiny and audit. So please decide whether one should pay or one should litigate. If it is a payment point, please pay with tax and penalty if applicable. But if it is a point of law and where it is already a litigated point, which we have seen, so in that case you can go for litigation. But please decide on a case-to-case basis whether you should pay or litigate. There are various cases that have come on this subject, so please study the case laws relevant to your case. There are allied laws which have an influence in GST, so please study that also when you are making your reply. We also have many articles, write-ups on various websites which you can study to make a reply for yours. Please keep checking the portal for all related activities, because you never know, you have missed an SMS or an email and the proceeding has moved forward. So please don't miss any deadlines, and please keep checking the portal for related activities, and please discuss with your professionals, with your fellow professionals, take opinions, because it is a new act, GST, and we have just seen that timelines for 17, 18, 19, 19 are just getting completed. 17, 18 is still open for under section 74. Some cases have reached to the Honorable Supreme Court. So many cases are being decided at the Honorable High Court level. So it's a new act. You can take opinions and follow the professional opinion. So when you are making a reply, please ensure that you clearly say what is the demand that is admitted or disputed. Please give your facts on the disputed demand, make pair-wise replies, give supportings, give third-party documents, CA certified statements, anything that you feel will make your case stronger. Complete your submissions, and you can also attach income tax returns, 3B copies, all these Form 3CT copies, just to ensure that your reply is a comprehensive reply. And if something is left out during any of these proceedings, don't worry, because you have a chance. If you want to add a submission, you can go to the portal and add. There's an option for adding reply. So click on the add reply button and you can upload further documents. If still you miss that chance during hearings, you can submit a document. Even after hearing, if you feel that you have left out something, you can submit a letter post hearing by saying that this is my further submission. You can also seek an opportunity for any personal hearing after the first one. And still, if you feel anything is left out, you can submit to the proper officer. But please ensure that you submit these documents before the order is passed, so that all these things can be taken care of by the proper officer when he finalizes the order. So this is the end of my presentation. I think I have been able to place some important points for the benefit of the taxpayers. And now I think, sir,
Thank you.
if you want, we can take the
Thank
question
you,
answers.
Shri Gupta, for such an exhaustive and lucid presentation. And I'm very sure that all of us have been benefited by it. Now I would like to invite participant for any questions, if any, and kindly ensure that questions asked should be relevant to our today's topic. Further questions can be asked using the chat box. Now, house is open for the question answer session.
So I will take some questions which are already there, sir, in the chat box. Let me start. Yeah. Someone says price increase original invoice issued April debit note issued March for sales. It's applicable for interest. Price increase original invoice issued April debit note issued for March sales. Is interest applicable? I think answer is yes, because if it is a debit note, then the liability will start from the first day itself. Many a time department just mentioned that there is a difference of XYZ amount and that amount could not be matched from anywhere. Why there is no responsibility on? No, so you see, I've addressed this point because you see many a times the departmental officers have to rely on the data that has been given by DGARM. Please understand that the departmental officers also have some limitations because many a times we, like what you say is correct, that one data has been given to you in the scrutiny module, say, which says your e-way bill value is this much, X amount. Now, if you approach the respective proper officer for the details, he may not have that because that data has come from DGARM. Doesn't matter. The issue is that there is a difference. So as a taxpayer, your duty is that you first say that that data as per the scrutiny module is maybe incorrect because this is not the actual data. But so what is the actual data? You say that this is the actual data and you give your supporting document for that. That the answer that the data is not this, it is actually this. And for that, you do the reconciliation. So as a taxpayer, you do your duty if you're not getting any say, detailed breakup from the department. What to do if you have received the notice from the center department and state department for same period for assessment to which department? No, you see, all assessees have been allocated to either center jurisdiction or state jurisdiction. Now, generally, what we have seen is that the scrutiny notice and departmental audit will come only from a jurisdictional officer. It is only enforcement, which is maybe the investigation or search or anything like that, or anti-evasion, that can come from any of the respective departments because the officers have been cross-empowered to issue such notices. But since we are dealing with the topic of scrutiny and departmental audit, majority, we have not seen any scrutiny or departmental audit from any other office other than your say proper officer, jurisdictional officer. Can scrutiny notice issue post DRC 07 issued after audit completion under section 61 and audit concluded? No, it doesn't happen like that because like I have said that once the order has been passed under section under DRC 07, after the completion of scrutiny or the audit, then generally the proceedings don't start again with section 61 or audit doesn't start for that particular financial year. If it is happening, then you can take it up with the respective proper officer, but generally it doesn't happen that way. In some cases, we see that the amount of tax mentioned in 2A column of the tax liability and ITC comparison sheet shown on GST portal is completely different. Yes, it happens because like I've said that there is a mismatch in data that happens, and so it is your duty to actually say which is the right one and then reconcile it. We have received ADT 1 for 22-23 department demand for any other year any other due. Sorry, I have not got this question. What about penalty tax determined during audit. Yeah, so penalty as per 73 or 74 will be applicable as per the assessment of the proper officer. Sir, we have got assessment order for 17, 18 and 18, 19. This period was new for everyone. In that case, department give at least waiver in interest on penalty. See, this is something that you may make a representation to the government by saying that for 17, 18, 18, 19, it was first 2 years of GST implementation, and if you want any relief, then you can make a representation to the government, and they may take it up in their wisdom. My query is not related to today's topic. Still, if you may reply. No, I think we'll restrict ourselves to today's topic only. In some state tax authorities insisting to take all the ITC in 3B which are reflected in 2B in reverse, which are not pertaining to the respective GST, and whether it is correct as per law. Yes, I think you see from August 2022, the format of 3B has changed, in which basically one has to avail the entire ITC that is auto-populated in 2B, and then you have to do the reversal in 4B1 or 4B2 as maybe permanent reversal or temporary reversal. So, and especially you see in case of IGST, it is all the more important because unless you claim the IGST in your 3B return, the clearing doesn't happen between the state and the center. So that money remains with the center. So many a times the state officers will coordinate with the taxpayer and tell them to avail the entire IGST at least in your 3B and then do the reversal in your 3B so that you take the net ITC only. But yes, this is a as per procedure, you are supposed to take the entire ITC in 2B and which gets reflected in 2B in your 3B and then do the respective reversal. 1920 ASMT 10 document was submitted, still not issued any order. Yeah, so I think 1920 we still have time. We have received ADT 1 for 22-23. Can department demand any for any other year document other than? No, generally, if you have received an audit letter for say 22-23, so unless this year is connected with say the previous year, they will not demand documents of any other audit year. So let me take an example. So in 22-23, you say that there was some ITC that was auto-populated in say GSTR 2A of 21-22, which I have availed in say 22-23 because maybe the goods were in transit. So the departmental officer may ask you for the ITC register of 21-22 just to ensure and just to check whether you have not availed that ITC in last year also and this year also. So if it is a related case, then the departmental officer may ask for the documents for the other year, but generally otherwise they don't ask. Section 74 is for fraud, then how can in audit they impose penalty in section 74? They have no, sometimes you see we have seen that if it is a case of section of if it is a case of audit, then section 74 becomes applicable because section 74 is not only for fraud, it is only for misrepresentation and giving wrong documents. So 74 can trigger in case of audit. It may not get triggered in case of scrutiny, but in case of audit, it may get triggered. Yeah. So how much time do we have? Can I take last 3-4 questions?
Cool. Yes,
Well,
yes, please.
Okay, sir. Okay. RCM liability for 1920, we paid it today if credit available for RCM in financial year. No. You see, this is again a litigated issue because if you have paid RCM liability for 1920, 16.4 gets hit and officers are not allowing this. But as I said, 16.4 is already litigated and the matter is sub judice. It is before the Honorable Supreme Court. So we may have to wait for the decision. Received notice from Ministry of Finance, Department of Revenue and notice is not showing on the GST portal. Sorry, I don't understand what notice you have issued, what notice has been issued, because if it is issued by the GST department, then ideally it should show on the portal. We have received, unless it is done offline. We have received GST audit from financial year 17-18 till 22-23. Does all years are valid for audit or there is time limit? No, so the time limit is basically for the issue of notice under section 73 or section 74. Now, since you have received an audit letter from 17-18 onwards, and as I said that anything that comes out in audit, if it is a fraud or a misrepresentation, then 74 can trigger, and we still have time for the issue of notice under section 74. So the department has the right to conduct the audit from 17-18 onwards. I have cancelled my GST now to file final return in GST at 10. We have some excess credit lying. We are a service provider. No, I think this is not related to today's topic. Sir, 74 is for fraud. Then how can I have answered this question? I have answered this question. So is 17, 18, 18, 19 time bar for scrutiny? Answer is no. See, you see what is happening is that it is time barred for issue of notice under 73. So it is not time barred for scrutiny. Any notice that is issued under 73 is time barred for 17, 18, 18, 19. How can, yeah. So I think, sir, there is no further question. I have answered all the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for such an exhaustive and lucid presentation. And I'm sure that all of us have been benefited by it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. And now, so I think now it was indeed an enriching and enlightening experience for all of us. And a short span, we have been enriched with all the information on how to handle scrutiny and departmental audit under GST. And credit goes to all the presenters as well as participants, without whom this webinar would have not have been a success. To conclude, a sincere thanks to Shri Mahendra Ranga sir for taking out his time of his busy schedule to educate us on topic and putting in efforts for making this session a success. Thank you so much, sir. Also, we are thankful to our ADG, Shri Amish Kumar Gupta, sir, for his time and inputs. Thank you so much, sir. On behalf of DGTS, DZU, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar on how to handle scrutiny and departmental audit under GST organized by our department. Also, thanks to Shri Arun Agarwal ji for sharing his valuable inputs, and special thanks to Shri Tarun Kumar Gupta for his presentation and that made us understand the topic so lucidly and in such an easy manner that we all are appreciating or very well. In the end, I would like to thank all the participants for all their support and time in making this webinar quite a success. Thank you all. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.